My name is Melissa Tui. I'm the Ed Tech and Adoption Specialist here at Ozobot. I'm a former classroom teacher. I've taught kindergarten and first grade. I've also founded a coding, engineering, and design thinking program at a Title I charter school in South LA. And when I'm not at Ozobot, I am at UCLA pursuing my doctoral degree where I am researching elementary school implementation of computer science. So I believe Heather is still on her way trying to get on to join us. I believe she's having just some technical difficulties. Cassandra, is that accurate? Do you know?
I think so. I'm looking for her to join to make sure I can promote her to co-host if need be. But yeah,
Okay.
we'll go through housekeeping, and I'm sure Heather will be on shortly.
Great, wonderful. And then we also have Cassandra, who's monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, she's on our team at Ozobot, and she'll be here supporting Heather and myself. Heather is the account executive for the states listed there. She's also an incredible blogger and has been with the Ozobot team for a few years now. So we're really lucky to have her, and she should be here shortly. Our agenda today, we are going to go over some housekeeping items. We're going to do a quick introduction to Ozobot, and there's 2 ways to code demo, and then I'll talk about our remote friendly lessons, and then we'll jump into Q&A and then our giveaway. Cassandra, I don't know if this is helpful to let Heather know, but it looks like Brian in our audience just got a notice that there are some widespread Zoom issues, so it could be that affecting Heather as well. I don't know if that's helpful to relay to her. But just wanted to mention that just in case. Okay. For our housekeeping items, everyone is on mute. Your camera is off. Please join in the conversation. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature in Zoom, or you can also type it into the chat. Again, Cassandra is in our audience and ready to answer any questions. And then let's see, other housekeeping items. Please feel free to start a dialogue. And if you are interested in a recording of this webinar, the slides and recording will be available to you by email if you opt in for email updates on our YouTube channel and on our webinar page. You can re-access all of this information through those channels. We are going to jump into our giveaway. One lucky winner today is going to win an Ozobot educator entry kit. So if you go to ozo.bot/giveaway, you are going to provide your name and your email address. Please only enter once. If you enter multiple times, you will be disqualified, just to make sure that it's fair and equitable for everyone attending. And we will announce the winner at the end of the webinar. You must be present for the entire webinar to claim your prize. And I believe Cassandra will be putting that link into the chat for you to sign up for the giveaway. And we will close that giveaway 10 minutes from now, so about 20 minutes past the hour. So go ahead and click on that and enter your information. So I'll go ahead and step in and talk about Ozobot. So Ozobot is a really, really great platform to introduce students to STEAM and computer science. 9 out of 10 parents want their students to learn computer science, but those that are actually receiving computer science education is much lower than that. Our Ozobot platform allows for hands-on STEAM learning to increase engagement and also boost retention up to 75%. One of the most unique things about Ozobot is how engaging it can be to use to integrate into subject areas and to boost that retention of content that students might find kind of boring in their day-to-day content area. But I'll be showing you some lessons later about how we effectively create engaging activities for some of those topics that may be not as fun for students. It does look like our colleague Diego is here, so I'll let him take over from here if he's ready. Hello, Diego. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Melissa. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. I think my video is disengaged, but I think I know where to start here. Sorry about that. Hopping in a little late.
Thank you for joining us. I was just about to talk about the future ready skills aspect of Ozobot.
Great. Yes, so robots in general make it easy to teach future ready skills, not just in computer science and digital literacy, but other skills like creativity and critical thinking and collaboration and communication. So according to the World Economic Forum, the majority of today's elementary students will go on to have jobs that really don't exist yet. So instilling future ready skills ensures that they'll be able to adapt to whatever that future brings. So the next point here is the social and emotional well-being aspect. It's just the pure excitement that comes with working with a robot, especially a tiny one that fits in the palm of your hand, can really impact students, their social and emotional well-being. This is kind of both hard to quantify, and it's also extremely important. And we feel that one of our certified educators put it best when they said, when I place a robot in front of a learner, what I see on their face is joy. So that's one small way that we can quantify it. And then if we can move on to the next slide. So what is Ozobot? We're basically a robotics platform that makes it very simple to teach coding and STEAM and integrate those things into all subjects. We're already trusted in over 30,000 schools, and ranging from all grades, from K to 12. And one of the main things that we hear from our users is that through a poll that we put out, is that 95% of them reported that they have seen increased student engagement through our platform. We were actually founded in 2014, so we've been around for quite a while, and in that time we've won a couple of awards, like the Edison Award and Best of ISTE Award as well. So how does it all work? Let me see if my video is on now. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see who's talking now. So how it works, our desk-friendly 1-inch robots make learning hands-on, and they increase the student engagement aspect. Our robots are Bluetooth enabled. They have a programmable motor, a color sensor. They also have proximity sensors and a speaker. So a lot of technology packed in a small package. With this robot and our 2 ways to code, students can code Ozobot's screen-free with colored markers, and on screens with Ozoblockly visual programming. These really lends our platform's flexibility to span not only any grade level, but all subject areas as well. As a matter of fact, 74% of our users teach core subjects like math, ELA, and science with coding and CS integrated in. So it's a very interdisciplinary tool, and that offers that flexibility as well. So with Ozobot, teachers get access to over 500 lessons via Ozobot Classroom, our software platform, where they can explore and assign lessons. And because our bots connect to our platform via Bluetooth, teachers can track their students' progress when students work with and without screens. So we launched this platform and lesson experience in the beginning of 2020. And since then, we'll probably have more now, but around 60,000 unique teachers and students use the platform. So the next part is where I'm going to ask Melissa here to take the role of our student with me and try the 2 ways to code. So let me check my overhead camera here. Let's see.
Can't believe you had that ready to go, Diego. Thank you for having that printed out already.
Oh yeah, I have a couple of these laying around here in the home office. So let's see. Let me actually change my.
And for those of you in the
there.
audience, I'll stop sharing my screen, but for those of you in the audience, if you want to see Diego's demo full screen, you can go to view in the top right corner and click on speaker and click on full screen as well to get the full view.
Perfect, thank you. So on the overhead camera, we have this little presentation demonstration sheet here to highlight a couple of the color codes that we have available in all our robots. The color code language that we created is patented, and it allows students to start coding completely screen-free by drawing lines and sequences of colors so that they can build creative confidence, teach basic coding concepts like cause and effect, and some debugging concepts. So the goal with this specific activity that I have here is to use color codes to get our robot from the start to one of these STEAM subjects on the right-hand side. So that's where I'm going to ask Melissa to choose one of these STEAM subjects, either science, technology, engineering, art, or math.
I will choose arts.
Arts. So arts is right here. Now, there's an entire color code language that students can learn, but for this activity, we're using direction color codes. And the way they work is they tell Evo what to do at the next intersection. So we're going to have to help the robot from Ozobot to start here and to end here by placing a color code before these two intersections here. The color code options that we have are here on the top left. So directions go straight, go left, or go right. And you also notice the blank spaces before the intersection. So that's where we're going to place the color code. So let me start here. So in the first intersection, we want the robot to go straight down the line. There's two options, straight, or it can make a left-hand turn. If we don't tell the robot where to go at these intersections, it'll randomly select where to go. That's why it's important that these color codes are presented this way. We're literally telling the robot which direction to take at that intersection. Otherwise, it'll randomly select which way to go. So let me place the color code here to go straight. It's just a sequence of color, blue, black, and red. And the next intersection, instead of it going straight down the line, we actually wanted to make that left-hand turn here. And that's a color code that's this green, black, and red. That's a sequence of color placed here. And these markers are not special ink or anything. It's actually the sensors on the bottom of the robot that allow it to interpret those sequences of colors as a command. And you'll see the middle sensor, the bright light right in the middle, that's the optical sensor. And the green stripe in the top is actually what allows the robot to follow lines. So when I place the robot now on the map, it'll recognize the color code and make the correct decisions for us to actually end up where we want it to be, which is the art STEAM subject bubble. So that's one example of color codes There's about 30 of those pre-programmed into all our robots. And that allows us to be very creative in the way that we teach some of these coding concepts in a very unique way. Nobody else can do this. So the second way to code is through Ozobot, and I'm actually going to share my screen here so you can see what it looks like. So this is Ozobot. It is a device agnostic visual programming editor powered by Google's Blockly technology, but we added discrete skill levels starting with pre-reader. Here you can see the levels here on the top left, starting with pre-reader all the way to master. Now, pre-reader is great because it shows you that it can be flexible enough for, well, pre-readers because all of these initial blocks here are all picture-based. There's no words, and they're limited in how many there are, but at least you have flexibility to start as young as possible. It goes all the way to the master level, which introduces advanced programming principles usually taught in high school computer science classes. They include logic, loops, variables, and then higher level concepts like arrays and lists. Now, these are not, there's not a prerequisite for teachers to know what all these things do or what they are. Our lessons are very intentional in that case. So don't be discouraged if you don't know where arrays and lists are. To be honest, my knowledge is cursory. So but I just wanted to show you the flexibility of the platform as well. So in this case, the blocks here in the editing bay or the editing screen of Ozobot are going to help us solve a second activity sheet that I'll place on the overhead camera. So if you can see the second sheet now, the lines are mostly gone. There's a line initially here, but the rest of it is blank space. That's just to show you that you don't necessarily have to always deal with lines and color codes. You can actually tell the robot to do different things with Ozobot that go beyond that. Ozobot also, or any Blockly programming language for that matter, works the same way in terms of the program's read like a paragraph from top to bottom. All these commands are going to happen in order, starting with what color the top LED is going to be. I'm going to select one here, this fuchsia color. And then these things are going to happen in order. I'm going to ask Melissa again to choose one of these steam subject bubbles again to help the robot, to help you, Ozobot get to. Math, great. So that's going to go straight down the line here. So that's very cool because I don't know if it's also a little bit hard to see. There's actually a grid in this page of 30 millimeter increments starting at the end of this line. So 30 millimeters, 60, 90, 30, 60, 90, 120. We measure in millimeters because our robots are small, but that's also how you can see in this editing, in this editor, this move distance blocks, they're measured in millimeters. So how far we want to go in millimeters. So in this case, we can do something very fun, which is just actually select 0 millimeters here. The robot is going to turn left and turn back around. It's not going to move up the page at all. And then it's going to go all the way down to the math subject bubble. So that's how I think this will work. And we're going to test it by connecting our robot to our editing instance here. And it's just like connecting to a Bluetooth device. You click connect, a window pops up in which you can pair your Ozobot to. Once it's paired, it'll let you know that your robot is connected. And then you can run the program by clicking run program. So it just sends it automatically to the bot. And then it also is going to play some sounds just to show you the internal speakers. And then it's going to do a Christmas tree animation. So let's see if I got this correct. All right. So that is quick examples of our 2 ways to code. It really helps drive our flexibility and our adoption in education up to this point. There are, you could potentially start with color codes for younger students or anybody new to coding, and then move to the skill levels in Ozobot to really span to the higher grades. Like I said, 74% of our users use Ozobot to teach core subjects. So they're not just teaching coding and programming, they're integrating those into other subject areas like math, ELA, and science. And that also helps with learning styles, even with students with behavioral issues, special needs, and students on the autism spectrum. And that also, our flexibility can make us really useful for in-person, remote, and hybrid instruction. So that's something that Melissa is going to talk to you about next with our remote-friendly Learn Anywhere lessons, to show you both that ability to integrate into content areas and the flexibility of instruction.
Great. Thank you so much, Diego. Yeah, I'm going to dive into our newest curriculum offering, which are our Learn Anywhere lessons. So when COVID forced us to shut down and a lot of schools to be virtual from home, we as an education team at Ozobot really wanted to be intentional about the type of content that we were producing in order to make things easier for you as the teacher, or if you're an instructional coach, just making anyone who's in that instructional position, taking that heavy lifting off of them so that students could still get STEAM and computer science in their education, no matter if they were in person, hybrid, remote, or any setting. So I'm going to give you a quick overview. We're going to dive into some of the lesson examples, and feel free to ask any questions in the chat. We'll also have Q&A at the end. But all of our lessons can be found in our lesson library. Our lesson library is through our platform, Ozobot Classroom, which is completely free. You can go in, make an account. If you are a Google Classroom user, you can sign in using your Google account that your classes are paired to, and that increases the functionality, which Diego will be showing us the student view with the Google Classroom integration at the end of this webinar. But here, if you click on lessons, this is our lesson library. And you can find these lessons that I'm showing you with this remote friendly lesson filter. You can apply that. The other way you can know if a lesson is remote friendly is we have this icon here on the right. You'll notice that this lesson does not have that remote friendly feature because our lesson library is a mix of internally developed lessons that we have created as an Ozobot team, and also submissions from our educators from all over the world. So this layers of soil with Ozobot was submitted by one of our certified educators, and she does not have an instructional video with her lesson, which is the main difference between a remote friendly lesson and a non-remote friendly lesson. But I'll be going into all the other all the other features that a remote friendly lesson has. But that's the most basic way to describe the difference, is that our remote friendly lessons have student facing instructional videos, where if it's not tagged as remote friendly, it will not have that. We do recommend a pacing of 1 lesson per week, and these lessons are about 30 to 45 minutes long. For the younger grades, we try to stick to that 30 minutes just to make sure that they are able to keep their attention and stay engaged. With the older students, it's probably about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how quickly or slowly they work. These lessons are aligned with at least 1 ISTE standard, 1 CSTA standard, and 1 content standard, which would be Common Core Math, Common Core ELA, or NGSS. Again, you can find all of this in the lesson library, and in these lesson plans, they are They come with everything you need to implement this with your students. So if you are a teacher that is super confident in teaching computer science and you just want a traditional lesson plan, we have that synchronous lesson plan for you. If you are a teacher or a coach that coaches teachers that might be a little bit more hesitant or have never really taught computer science before, they don't really know where to start, there's that instructional video that's meant to be student facing, but teachers can also utilize that for their instruction and help guide their instruction with the instructional video. There's also a student activity guide with all of the directions and all of the sheets that are required are included in the lesson plan. And then any potential solutions or answer keys are included as well. You can see here, this is a quick just some examples of what comes in that lesson package. This is that traditional lesson plan. This is what a video looks like. These are the activity sheets and then the answer keys. We're going to dive into some of the content examples. So in 5th grade, we have a math example. We have ELA, STEAM, and math lessons in our lesson library that are remote friendly. So those content areas are covered. And in these lessons, this is an example of a math lesson where we're using the randomization feature of Ozobot's line following in order to engage students in math content. So Diego showed you the color codes that were directional before, but if a bot comes to an intersection where there is no directional color code, it will make a random choice. The students actually get to choose behavioral color codes. So these are like fast, turbo, spin, and tornado. And so they're just using it for the engagement aspect. When the bot starts on this line, because these intersections are, because the color codes are not directional color codes, these, the bot will make a random decision each time it finds an intersection. So you can see in the first problem here, this is a sample solution. In this example, the bot would have traveled to the digit number 4. And in this example, students actually get to plug in the single digit at the end of each arm. So the first digit was 4, then the bot traveled all the way to 7, then it traveled all the way down this arm to 3, then to 2, then to 5, and then finally 8, all the way over here. And so students are tasked with writing that number in standard form, in word form, and in expanded form to focus on that 5th grade skill. This is a quick example of what the instructional video looks like. Sorry, let me share my sound here. We wanted to include this just so you can get an idea of what your students will see and what they will hear when using these lessons and these videos. Ozobot is ready to make a 6-digit number. Are you? We'll place our bot on start. Then we'll watch as it follows the pathway until it gets to a digit. Once it reaches a digit, we will write this digit in the hundreds place under standard form. My bot made it to the number 1. In the first place here, I will write 1. Then we'll repeat this 5 times to program Ozobot to move from start to complete my decimal number. My second number is 0. My third number is 9. Since it's truly random, your bot might choose the same number multiple times. How many digits or places will your number have when you are done? So you can see that in these videos, we're really intentional about being bite-sized. We walk students through every single step so that they can be successful. We were really, really intentional about taking all of that heavy lifting off of the teachers so that every student and every teacher could be successful. So that's just one chapter out of the longer video. In this slide deck, which you can come back and visit through either through email, our YouTube channel, or our webinar page, there's more clips of videos, but I just wanted to highlight them and show you that one just so you can get an idea, but definitely don't want to have us just watching videos the whole time we're here. This next lesson is our prefix chooser. So I did mention earlier that there are some content areas that are not the most exciting to teach and not the most exciting to learn. That being said, I never thought that I'd be excited to see a prefix lesson, and I'm pretty sure students would have a lot of fun with this lesson. Essentially, in this lesson, students learn about the line jump code, where the bot actually is coded to travel over the white space, and then it randomly travels over to find the next line, and it will move to the end of the arm. So the bot will pass by a prefix and then a root word, and students need to determine what word that is and whether it is a real word, or if students need to choose a word with a different prefix and then define that word. So I believe we have a quick sample of a video. Sorry, there is something funny going on with my, here we go. Let's place Ozobot on start on the prefix chooser, and it will randomly turn down one of the prefix rows. My Ozobot chose the prefix pre. The Ozobot jumped across the empty space because of the line switch code and headed over to the root word chooser. My Ozobot chose the root word able. On my prefix activity sheet, I will write pre plus able. When I put these two words together, I get the word pre-able. I'll write that on the next line after the equal sign. Can you place your bot on start and choose a prefix and a root word? Great, so that's just a quick sample of one of our ELA lessons. We are also include a STEAM lesson. So this is an example of a STEAM lesson that includes social emotional learning. For Thanksgiving, we decided to focus on being thankful for, I guess, acknowledging what we're thankful for in our lives. And so Ozobot is tasked to think of a couple different things that the student is grateful for. And then the students create these nets to help represent those items or things. And then the bot is actually coded to go all the way to a Thanksgiving gratitude party. So there's ways that we've also included holidays and STEAM and SEL. As SEL, Renee, stands for social emotional learning. Great question. Yes, sorry, I think this, for some reason, my slides are taking a little while to load, but yes, this is a quick clip that you're welcome to come back and revisit to see how that lesson works. And then the last, there's a couple more things I'd like to mention as well. For our middle school students and teachers, and actually new update for our elementary school teachers and students, we are currently developing an Ozoblockly series with video support and video content. This will be released soon, so keep checking back in our lesson library. We have used CSTA standards to help guide our instruction, where for any teacher or any student that might have never used block-based coding before, or if you're not very familiar with computer science concepts and skills, this is a really, really great place to start. We introduce all of those concepts to you and your students, and we guide you through activities to practice those skills and use Ozoblockly and block-based coding to utilize those concepts and skills. So keep your eyes peeled for that. One other thing I'd like to highlight is we also have lots of seasonal and holiday lessons. So the picture you're seeing here is an example of our Lunar New Year lesson that we released earlier this year. But we also have our traditional December holidays and other holidays throughout the year that we like to highlight and celebrate throughout the year. Last thing I want to mention about our Learn Anywhere lessons, not only were we intentional about creating content that was easy to use and took that heavy lifting off of you, we really, really prioritize accessibility. So all of those lessons that are remote friendly have those instructional videos for students to access. If students have auditory processing issues or are not able to access the audio or visual, we have the instructions written out so students can read them. We also have the student activity guide for students to utilize. We also integrate, as you can just saw with the lessons, we integrate the core subject areas with STEAM and technology. These lessons can be used at any grade level for any skill level. And we also have visual support for students with color vision deficiency. So we have really, really been intentional about making sure that all students are able to access and participate in STEAM and computer science learning. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Diego to talk about the hybrid program.
Great, thank you. Yes. The new Ozobot hybrid program was mainly our pivot into the challenges of the pandemic. Basically allowed each student to have their own Ozobot to take home for those remote learning environments, but also great for hybrid models. It's called a hybrid model because it works for both. But the idea behind it is also, each student having their own tool, because sharing materials is going to be, more tricky in the near future. So each student gets their own robot, their own Ozobot. Teachers get access to all those great remote-friendly lessons with the instructional videos that Melissa was highlighting, as well as training and professional development. We really wanted to make teacher adoption as easy as possible because there's so many things already on your plates that having a platform like ours just kind of dumped on your laps is not the best solution. So we want to make sure that we took care of getting you comfortable in what it was, how it works. That way, you bring it into the classroom. And as you can see, hopefully you can see from what we've shown you today, it's not a difficult thing to do. It's just barrier to entry is actually getting some robots. The last thing is that schools and districts can integrate coding and STEAM into all subjects for all students. So we wanted to really still highlight those things like coding and programming and STEAM subjects, but also make it easy to integrate into all subjects as well, because we don't want to forget about the core subjects like math, ELA, and science, but we also don't want to short students on those 21st century skills either. So why not have both at the same time? And then Melissa, you said you wanted me to go into student view. Is that something we still have time for?
It looks like we have about 12 minutes left. I think it's up to us if we want to quickly show that and then jump into Q&A, but that is our next agenda item. So I don't know if you have a quick minute to show student view.
Yeah, let me just share my screen just so you guys see what it would look for students once you get one of those remote friendly lessons assigned through Google Classroom. This is an example of a Google Classroom environment for a student. They have their Ozobot class here. Their teacher is me. So they click on their class and they can see any assigned lessons that were assigned through Ozobot Classroom right through here. So they click on that assigned lesson and they get a link to click on that brings them into the student view of that lesson, which is a great new addition to our platform that works in those hybrid environments. So if the students are at home for a couple of days, they come back to school for a couple of days, or even if they're fully in person, they're still going to have their own pods. They're going to be working in their individual spaces. So you can assign these lessons this way. That way they can go through the lesson asynchronously, and as a teacher, you can just be there as a to help them troubleshoot any issues. So it just walks them straight through the lesson. It welcomes them into the lesson, tells them how long it's going to take, and they just have to click next and next until they get to the end of the lesson. They're going to tell you what they learned. In this case, it's an ELA lesson in which they break down and describe the process of making a sandwich. It tells them what they're going to need: a robot, some markers, activity sheets that you can provide for them, but they can also print right directly through their student view. They can also communicate with the teacher, especially for those remote instances. They can communicate with the teacher using these buttons here to send a message to Google Classroom. And then it takes them right to those videos that Melissa was highlighting and that she's the star of. So it's an I do, you do, takes them from the introduction of the lesson all the way down to the lesson wrap up. So again, just to make it as easy as possible to integrate one of these lessons into your day. You don't have to do a lot of prep work. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just print the sheets, give them this link, or assign the lesson for them, and then we take care of the rest through the instructional videos. At the end of the lesson, they'll have a completion checklist, so they'll know exactly what they need to have finished, and then they'll turn it in. So in this case, they'll turn in an activity sheet to you. If they are remote, they could take a picture of that activity sheet and drop it here on this box, and that gets shared to you remotely as well. So it's basically a really easy way to assign one of these lessons. That way you don't have to, again, if you're short on time, if you just want to have something engaging to do that's going to cover an ELA concept and you just want to assign it, we'll take care of the rest through this student view. And once they submit it, they also get a little rubric to let you know how they liked it. So you can actually check on their, especially remotely, some emotional and social well-being, but just to see how they liked it. It's a good way to know that these things are working, it's engaging. And that way they can keep track of everything they've completed here as well. So that's just a little overview of what the students see. And that's also to highlight how easy we made it to have one of these engaging lessons assigned and completed in a very asynchronous way, if that's something that works for you. So that is the overall gist of that. So now that we have about 10 minutes, so I'll pass it on for Q&A.
Yeah, some great questions came out of your demo there. So a couple educators, I think Renee, Gary, Kismet, and Shannon were asking about different other platforms that to link through. So right now we are fully integrated with Google Classroom, but what I do want to show you all, if you are not Google Classroom users, you can still use these lessons. So if you click on preview, or if you actually open up the lesson plan for one of these lessons, you'll be able to find the links to the instructional videos on that first page in the box that says instructional video every single time. So here, if you click on that, we've given you two links, one to the full length video and one to the playlist. We wanted this to be as useful for you as possible. If you prefer to use the playlist, that's up to you, or you can share both with your students. Again, these lesson plans come with that direct instruction, the student practice portions, your answer keys so that you know what to expect of your students, but also the blank worksheets as well. So even if you are not fully integrated, if you're not a Google Classroom user, that's absolutely okay. These will still work for your situation. You'll just have to send those links to your students and the worksheets on your own. Hopefully that answers your questions, and please feel free to pop into the chat or Q&A if you have more questions. Marie is asking about if the videos are YouTube based. So we know that a lot of schools block YouTube. So while we do host them on YouTube, our engineers have been really diligent about making sure that that's not where they're hosted, because a lot of schools block YouTube. So when you go through this link, it'll be a YouTube link, but it's actually housed and hosted through a different website. So you should be able to access them. If you're not able to, please email support@ozobot.com so that we can get you squared away to make sure that you're able to access. Great question, Marie.
Somebody asked if students can create their own paths using black marker. Great question, and that's a definite yes. I know that we showed you some activities that already had a pre-printed map of black lines that you can put the color codes in, but yeah, it definitely can be done completely freehand. Actually, a lot of teachers like to have that as an option, as a kind of a open-ended activity, some paper rolls, some markers, and the kids can just create on their own. They don't have to be, using just the pre-printed maps that we provide. This can all be done freehand.
And here's an example of one of our Learn Anywhere lessons where they're actually writing a narrative about a triangle that changes shapes and becomes, I think it starts off as an equilateral triangle, then turns to scalene, then turns to isosceles, or some variation of that. So you can see here that we've given the answer key with all three different types of triangles, but you'll see on the student page, while we have a worksheet for the students, you could also just give them blank paper. So yes, we have more structured lessons, and then we have more free draw type of lessons in our lesson library. Great question. All right, did any other questions come up?
Would you mind, we had a question earlier on about learning about specific advanced coding lines within Ozobot. So I thought it might be good to show the glossary and see if that would help.
Absolutely, thank you so much for the reminder. Let me pull up Ozobot here. And so if you are not familiar with Ozobot, Ozobot has 5 levels, everything from pre-reader, where there's no text or reading skill required, all the way to advanced. So I think that attendee was particularly speaking to line following and more advanced line following, if I'm correct. But if you pull out any of these blocks, there's a glossary option in our, over here on the right-hand panel. If you click on any of the blocks, you can see it automatically updates to the block that you've clicked on so that it explains to you what the block does and how to use it. Did I miss anything there, Diego or Cassandra?
No, that's great. Yeah, the glossary is really great for those quick kind of like, okay, what does this do? Or is this the right block that I need? But again, just to make sure that you're not kind of turned off by the whole gamut of things that it offers. That's why Melissa's been working really hard at making the lessons very intentional. So if it's something that's going to be for 3rd graders, they're not going to be using, necessarily be using concepts like arrays and lists, or for pre-readers. So it's as easy as following the directions on the lesson plans in our lesson library. But this again shows you that it can be very open-ended. So you can, there's those kids that just take off with it. Next thing you know, they are on the level 5, and they're just asking questions. You can point them to this tool saying, hey, there's a great integration right here that will answer the question that you have. So yeah, no, that's great. I love glossary. It's just a point and click and you're there.
We have one more question about Ozobot being for kindergartners. Yes, it is for coding, and level 1 would absolutely work with kindergartners. We actually have our core coding curriculum in our lesson library. And let me show you how to get to that. So if you're looking for Ozobot lessons to do with kindergartners, if you use the computer science filter here, you'll see our core coding curriculum. We have this for kindergarten through 5th grade, and this actually teaches your students all about color codes and all about Ozobot. And this is where we recommend students get started if they haven't used Ozobots or don't know much about coding. What I do want to show you is these last 2 lessons are all using Ozobot. So it's a little bit hard to see, but on these worksheets, there are sequences. There are 3 color sequences. That first one, I believe, is light blue, purple, and then red. And what students are tasked to do is, let me clear this workspace. They are tasked to think about the sequence, because kindergarten, what we cover is sequencing in that core coding curriculum. They need to be able to pull out the blocks blue. I believe it was that fuchsia or purple color, and then red. And then they would run it on their bot. This is where students actually have to really use their critical thinking skills and their sequencing skills, because this looks pretty straightforward. I don't have a bot in front of me to show you, but when the bot executes this, it actually does it so quickly that you barely see the lights flash. So we also go into, you actually have to tell the bot to wait. So between each color, they need to put a wait block. So that way you can actually see the blue glow for a second, then you see the fuchsia glow for a second, and then you see the red glow for a second. So we have some really developmentally appropriate ways to teach the block-based coding to even our youngest learners. Hopefully that's helpful. What I will say is that with our core coding curriculum, these are not, these don't have video content, but they're very straightforward and they have all of the rest of the lesson plan content. So you're welcome to check that out and try that with your students. All right, great. Do we have any more questions, Cassandra? Did we miss anything in the chat?
I think I answered in the chat if people had questions, but if we didn't answer any of your questions, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to help out.
Wonderful. And Diego, I just want to thank you for just being so willing to jump in at the last minute today. I would love to give you the honor of choosing our giveaway winner. If you could choose a number between 12 and 47.
No pressure, huh? So don't take it out on me if you're not number 27.
27. And for those of you that are in our audience, you actually, when you filled out that Google form, it actually auto-filled you into a spreadsheet. And so number 27 is Lavette Stiff. Lavette, congratulations. Let me pull up my slide deck here. Lavette, if you email Cassandra at ozobot.com to claim your prize, she will get that educator entry kit out to you. Thank you all for joining today. Just a couple of wrap-up reminders. If you need bots, you can request a demo at ozobot.com. You can try Ozobot for free. We have challenges. You can go to our website under Create and Challenges. We have Shape Tracer 1, Shape Tracer 2, and Ozotown. If you'd like to know about Ozobot funding and grant tools, you can reach out to us or go to ozo.bot/funding. There's a CARES Act information guide and letter template there and samples of successful grants for you to refer to. And you can sign up for updates at ozobot.com. You can sign up for a free Ozobot Classroom account at classroom.ozobot.com, complete bot camp, and explore our lessons. And we just want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here with us today. Again, thank you, Diego, for stepping in at the last second. And thank you, everyone, for just being so flexible and understanding about our technical glitches today. And thanks to Cassandra for being so supportive on our team and on our chat. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.